Everybody be cool. You be cool.
Oh, yeah!
You never know what's going to happen next, and it can be so far out there and off the wall that I think that alone could be very scary.
Low profile. You understand the meaning of the words low profile?
It's a Robert Rodriguez film. So who the hell knows what we've got here?
Well, it's an action adventure unlike any you've ever seen. It
Takes bedroom scenes and makes them action adventures.
You're really just kind of playing, you know, cowboys and Indians.
It's a kick-ass little movie.
If you get too close to them, when the mind kicks in, you're liable to get shot.
I met Quentin at the Toronto Film Festival in 1992. I was on my mariachi tour, and Quentin was on his Reservoir Dogs tour, and I saw his movie first at the Telluride Film Festival. So when I got there, we had a lot to talk about, and he went to see mariachi. In fact, I was videotaping the crowd reaction, and he was sitting right next to me. So my videotape has people laughing, but mostly him laughing because he's right next to the microphones.
I was sitting in a hotel room in Toronto when Quentin came in the room. And it was like watching two guys who had known each other since they were like kindergartners. It was really, really something. They loved the same kind of movies, and they were talking about all the Hong Kong movies. And Robert, you know, had been a huge fan for years, and he really didn't know anybody else who knew about these movies that much.
We saw an immediate kinship in the kind of movies we were doing. I mean, most first films that come out are more personal kind of dramas or something that, you know, really, and ours were just twisted genre pictures. I mean, what kind of first film was that? Back in our days when I was writing Desperado at Columbia Pictures and he was writing Pulp Fiction originally for TriStar, we were on the Sony lot together. And I was telling him about my Mexican action movie, and he said, hey, I wrote a script set in Mexico about Mexican vampires, and he told me about Dusk Till Dawn.
I gave it to Robert to read, because Robert just wanted to read all my scripts. And because me and Robert were friends and buddies and stuff, and he read it, and he came back and he goes, man, this is a really cool script. I'd do this tomorrow, man. See, I wish I could get the rights of this.
Basically, those two are dangerous. They're a big ball of fire. They're kind of like an alter ego. And frankly, when I heard about the two of them, I was scared.
Well, Quentin Tarantino, it's common knowledge that he's possessed. I mean, he called me in on Pulp Fiction to blow up the head in the back seat of the car. And after I blew it up, I says, how'd you like that? He says, no, 10 times bigger than that.
He's possessed, you see. He's possessed.
Sometimes he channels spirits.
He was very persuasive, and if there's something you don't like that he did, he can convince you instantly that it is good and that it does work, and you believe it. A lot of it's to the way he talks. But it's also that Obi-Wan Kenobi kind of way, you know. It's like, this line doesn't work for me. He goes, of course it works. And then you're like, yeah, it does work.
I met Quentin at at one of these warlock witch parties. He said he wanted to do a story about his life, a life story. I said, great. I think that's really, because I was really interested at that time in witches and warlocks. He wrote this movie, Dusk Till Dawn, and it's like an autobiography of basically him growing up and his family. He met Robert, and Robert's got these amazing supernatural powers. Most movies use wires and boards that people push off of, so the stunt people go flying through the air. What happened is Robert basically looks at a person, and they just fly.
I think Robert's supernatural powers are in the way that he makes everybody do exactly what he wants with a huge smile.
Smile?
Well, Robert is supernatural. Like the other night after we wrapped, we're all gathered downstairs and he was floating over the pool. Could have been the beans.
I don't think he actually possesses the powers. I think the bandana does.
Why Robert is such a perfect guy for this film in particular is because he knows exactly what this film is and what it should be and what he would want to see if he went and saw it.
I knew that he was offering me the chance to direct it myself and have my own ideas, although he did show up every once in a while behind me and whisper sometimes and say, you know, you don't have to do this at all, but, you know, which means, you know, you should consider this. You can do it like this and then tell me his whole mapped out plan.
Well, I mean, this is all Robert's saying. I'm just saying about you. I mean, one thing you could do, actually, is since you actually are opening the suitcase, we open up the trunk, and he says, don't, you know, he goes, don't say a word. And then to me, open the door. There might be just a tiniest of eye flinches in that one. I brought it up, and I don't know.
If there's an eye flinch, I'll put a louder explosion sound in through the audience.
Okay, cool.
That'll be fun. And of course, I didn't want to do it, even if it worked, so that he couldn't later say, see, I directed the whole movie.
Robert is much more really fast moving. He puts the camera on his own shoulder. He steady cams himself.
He'll get down on a little, we call it the Ouija dolly, on his back, and he's shooting up here.
Yeah, we're doing 30, 40 setups a day.
Today we had this 1,000th shot day. Most directors, like on 15 weeks, don't get to the 1,000th shot. And after 30 days, Robert has hit it. So congratulations, everybody.
1,000?
1,000!
This is a very difficult film schedule because we're running around a lot and shooting a lot.
We overcame all natural disasters: sand, fire, rain.
I think this is probably a 15-week shoot that we've crammed into 10 weeks. And I don't think anyone could do it except for Robert Rodriguez.
I think for all the movies that we've ever done, this has been absolutely the hardest movie that we've ever done. I don't think I've been more than 5 feet away from Robert for the entire 6, 7 weeks that we've been shooting because he's so creative. He comes up with stuff consistently on set. He'll be like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? And then, can you do that? And I'll go, all right, let me see. And I'll run back to the shop and I'll try to see what we have. Oh, I got an arm here, we got a head here. Oh, yeah, sure, we can do it, you know.
And Robert is a guy that doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, doesn't do drugs. So I told the K&B guys, that's scarier than anything. Because, I mean, that's coming right out of his very sane, very sober mind.
I would come up with gags that I wanted to see done. And I knew there was a lot of computer effects, but I also wanted to do traditional mechanical effects.
This is actually a pump action crossbow that Juliet uses. This is George Clooney's weapon.
Howard's are just doing a lot of smoke coming out of the store, but no fireball. We wrap the bombs, we design the bombs, we make the bombs, we bring the bombs into the set, we clear everybody out of the set. It's a very dangerous thing sometimes what we do.
It's a little nerve-wracking when you're standing inside the building and all those bombs are ready to go off. And in fact, Tom came in and stood in the building with us because he said if the building blows up, he didn't want to be out here being the guy that killed Quentin and George. He'd rather be in there dead.
Me and George have a scene at the beginning of the movie, and we're arguing as this liquor store is exploding all behind us and around us and over us and onto us. This was actually one of the more dangerous things we've had to do in the whole movie, and they didn't even ask us, did we want to do it? They assumed that we were up for it.
I've built up a really nice crew over the past few movies, guys and women, who really like to work hard, are very creative, and I let them go with their imaginations, and they know there will be results. I'll show their stuff off really well.
The crew, for the most part, a bit like 75% of the crew, they either had worked with me and Lawrence before, or they'd worked with Robert before, they'd worked with both of us before, like in the case of 4 Rooms. We really had a family, atmosphere.
I used to do little itty-bitty horror movies back in the old days on video, and they were so much fun. I mean, using prune juice for blood, and sometimes the cheapy do-it-yourself effects come out even better.
These guys are real throwbacks. These guys know and have seen every movie that anybody has ever made.
I met Quentin a long time ago at a convention where I was a guest of honor. Quentin was a kid in the crowd. He said, Mr. Savini, I wonder if you'd come by this video store where I work and sign some of your videos. We have lots of old videos. You probably like them. We're in Manhattan Beach. Okay. I went. Because I'm nice to everybody. You know why? They grew up to be Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez.
I knew I was going to be depressed if I had to come into Hollywood and not do all the stuff that I was used to doing. I mean, I really enjoyed operating the camera. I wanted to get better at it. I wanted to learn Steadicam. I wanted to continue editing. I didn't want to give that up. That's my favorite part.
They have to do it. They force themselves to do it. Nobody can make them. In the same way, Robert, at 11 years old, making himself, every weekend he just edited. He filmed during the week and edited on the weekends. You can't make an 11-year-old do that.
I've been in love with film and illusion and magic since I was a kid. That's really why I wanted to get involved in filmmaking, because it's a big magic trick.
Whenever you go to a premiere or something, he's got the camera with him, because that's how he sees the world, through that. In high school, they let him film football games. But Robert was already thinking like a filmmaker, so he wasn't filming the play and what happened. He'd filmed the ball. He'd filmed the father who was like, I can't believe you didn't catch that ball. They fired him immediately.
I'm from a family of 10 children, so I kind of grew up, you know, being actually one of the oldest. Before I did mariachi, I mainly made family comedies.
Robert's brothers and sisters must have had a camera in their face since they were 2 years old, since they could like take his direction.
Quentin, I think, has been making movies in his head since he was 5 years old.
Quentin had interactive playtime with all of his action figures. He had G.I. Joes and Spider-Man and Batman, and he could carry on, you know, 5 or 6 spicy dialogues. I used to chastise him for his language, and he'd, of course, protest that he wasn't saying that at all. G.I. Joe was saying that.
He's like a kid. He's like a big kid. He's got that kind of energy and that kind of excitement.
I had just started watching George on ER and really liked him. I thought he was like this kind of cool Robert Mitchum character on ER. I thought he was really neat.
Since he plays the complete opposite, I mean, he plays an ER doctor on television, I wanted him to come and portray someone who sends people to the ER.
Oh, George is just a very special guy, George.
The wave you're creating, those
Wonderful spirit, wonderful sense of humor, and he can take it as well as he gives it.
Harvey's always, you know, George, can I borrow some money? George, how would you say these lines? You know, that kind of thing.
No matter what George Clooney says, he was intimidated when he found out he was going to work with me.
Juliet's nice. She's always knocking on my door. You know, George, you know, you want to rehearse the love scene, you know. It's just hard. And, because, you know, there is no love scene.
He's desperate at this point, and he was willing. He's like, if you need to set me on fire, so be it. I want to be in your movie.
Juliet is the most uninhibited actress I've ever seen. She can do anything and try anything. And the funny thing is, she has very little lines to do in this movie, and she steals the movie. Suddenly it's a film about her. She's that good.
It's rough. This is what real filmmaking is like. You know, you take risks, you don't know what's gonna happen, and you make do with what you got.
Action.
Summer's been in all my movies, so I said, I want you dancing with a big, like a python. And she was afraid of snakes, so I said, oh, well, that's the only way you're gonna get the job.
And it was really a great experience, and if Robert had not pushed me into it, I would have missed it, and it was really hot in there, and he was very cold.
Robert's such a neat director. He's just really smart, you know. And he's young, so he can just kiss my ass, because I hate him. And Quentin does sound effects nonstop, you know. Yeah, so I drove over there. You know, I stopped. He's brilliant, you know. That's part of the fun of all this is, you know, this is the first thing that he's written since he won the Academy Award, so it's kind of fun. The movie itself, it's actually George Clooney vehicle. You know, I don't normally like to do these interviews. I think you probably can tell because I stay away from, you know, documentaries in general. But George really kind of opened me up towards the, you know, just the idea of doing the... Pay no attention to the man behind the picture.